Come, let us worship. Let us open our minds to the challenge of reason, open our hearts to the healing of love, open our lives to the calling of conscience, and open our souls to the comfort of joy. Astonished by the miracle of life, grateful for the gifts of companionship, confident in the power of living faith, we are here gathered. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. I'm Jason, and I'll be your worship associate today. Ours is a welcoming congregation, and we are always working on how to better welcome and to care for one another. If this is your first time here, we're so glad that you've come. And whoever you are, we welcome you in the fullness of who you are. As we begin, we'd like to acknowledge that this church occupies land in Huichin, the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. We understand that we continue to benefit from the seizure and occupation of this land. We acknowledge and embrace our responsibility to take restorative action. We affirm that this is deeply felt and commit our congregation to be in right relationship with Indigenous communities, aligning in solidarity, supporting Indigenous projects, and caring properly for the land. Now let us kindle our chalice flame with these words by Erich Heller Wagner. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of human spirit touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in every life. We also pause to remind ourselves of some of the foundations of resilience. With Reverend Michelle, we light a candle of courage, a candle of acts of service, a candle of fellowship, and a candle of hope. May we find and cultivate these foundations of resilience in ourselves and in one another. Now, please join us in singing our opening song, "Break Not the Circle." The words will be on the screen. Please join me in saying our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
stairs. Grab permission. Yay!
Thank you all so much for your music. Am I amplified yet? There we go. Thank you so much for your music. Can we invite other folks? Can we invite other young ones, young in body, young in spirit, young in heart, to come on down for our time for all ages? Yeah, come on down. I can share with you just the words. You get to use your imagination for the pictures. One of my favorite picture books of all time. The title of it is Enemy Pie. Any of y'all have any enemies? You have somebody you don't like? Anybody? You have somebody you don't like? Yeah? Uh-huh. So this is Enemy Pie by Derek Munson. Remember, you got to make up the pictures in your head. It should have been the perfect summer. My dad helped me build a tree house in the backyard. My sister was at camp for 3 whole weeks. And I was on the best baseball team in town. It should have been the perfect summer, but it wasn't. It was all good until Jeremy Ross moved into the neighborhood right next to my best friend, Stanley. I did not like Jeremy Ross. He laughed at me when he struck me out in a baseball game. He had a party on his trampoline, and I wasn't even invited. Stanley was. Jeremy Ross is the one and only person on my enemy list. In fact, I didn't have an enemy list until Jeremy Ross moved into the neighborhood. But as soon as he came along, I needed one. I hung it up in my treehouse where Jeremy Ross was not allowed to go. My dad understood stuff like enemies. He told me that when he was my age, he had enemies too, but he knew a way to get rid of them. I asked him how. This is important information, right? How do you get rid of them? Tell you what he says? I'll show you how. He pulled out a really old recipe book and reached inside and got a really tattered piece of paper. Yep, this is it. Enemy pie. You might be wondering exactly what is in enemy pie. I sure was. Dad said the recipe was so secret he wouldn't even tell me. I decided it must be magic. I told him to tell me anything. I'll tell you this, he said, enemy pie is the best way to get rid of enemies. I have to give me just a second. Of course, this got my mind working. What kind of things, disgusting things, would go into enemy pie? I brought Dad some weeds from the garden. Nope, don't need them. I brought him earthworms and rocks. Nope. I offered him the gum I'd been chewing all morning. He handed it right back. I don't blame him. I went out to play alone. I shot some baskets until the ball got stuck on the roof. I threw a boomerang. It never came back. All the while, I listened to the sounds of my dad chopping and stirring and blending the ingredients for enemy pie. This could be a great summer after all. Enemy pie was going to be just awful. I tried to imagine how horrible it must smell or what it would look like. But when I was in the backyard looking for ladybugs, I smelled something really, really good. I was confused. I went back and asked Dad what was wrong. Enemy pie should be disgusting. If it's disgusting, your enemies will never eat it, he said. Okay, fine, fair point. Still, I wasn't really sure how this enemy pie worked. What exactly did it do to enemies? My dad said there was one more piece, and he had to fill me in. While the pie was cooling, he filled me in on the job. He talked quietly. There's one part of enemy pie that I can't do. In order for it to work, you need to spend the whole day with your enemy. Who saw that coming? Uh-huh. Even worse, you have to be nice to them. That's the only way enemy pie can work. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Of course I was. It sounded horrible. It was scary. It was worth a try, though. All I had to do was spend just one day with Jeremy Ross, and he'd be out of my hair for the rest of my life. So I rode my bike down to his house and knocked on the door. When Jeremy opened the door, he seemed surprised, suspiciously surprised. He stood on the other side of the screen door and looked at me. I said, "Would you like to come play with me?" He looked confused. "I'll ask my mom." He came back with his shoes in my hand. His mom walked out smiling. "You boys stay out of trouble." We rode bikes for a while. We played on his trampoline. Then we made some water balloons and threw them at some of the girls in the neighborhood. But we missed. Jeremy's mom made us lunch. After lunch, we went to my house. It was strange, but I was kind of having fun with my enemy. It almost seemed nice. But of course, I couldn't tell my dad that. He had gone to the trouble making enemy pie, right? Jeremy Ross liked my basketball hoop. He wished he had one, but they didn't have room for one. I let him win a game just to be nice. He knew how to throw a boomerang. He threw it and it came right back. Then we went in the backyard. First thing he noticed was my tree house. My tree house was my house, but I had to be nice to him for the whole day for the pie to work. "Can I go up?" he said. "Give me just a minute." And I ran up and I pulled the enemy list off the wall so he wouldn't see it. I had a checkerboard and some cards in the treehouse. We played games until my dad called us down for dinner. We pretended we didn't hear him. He found us. My dad made macaroni and cheese for dinner. My favorite, and you know what? It was Jeremy's favorite too. How many of y'all like mac and cheese too? Oh, I can't do it with that hand. I'm gonna make the mic go. You do? How many mac and cheese lovers? Yeah, me too. See? Mac and cheese rocks. And sure enough, after dinner, Dad brought out the pie. I watched as he cut it into 8 thick slices. "Dad," I said, "it sure is nice having a new friend in the neighborhood." I was trying to get his attention and tell him Jeremy Ross wasn't my enemy anymore. But Dad only smiled and nodded. I think he thought I was just pretending. Dad dished up 3 plates, big pieces of pie, and of course a giant scoop of ice cream. I wonder if that was part of it too. "Wow," said Jeremy, looking at the pie. "My dad never makes pies like this." It was at this point I panicked. I didn't want Jeremy to eat the enemy pie. He was my friend. I couldn't let him eat it. "Jeremy, don't eat it. It's bad. I think it's poisonous or something." His fork stopped. He looked at me. He looked at my dad. "Then why is your dad eating it?" "Good stuff," my dad mumbled through his mouthful. Dad was laughing. Jeremy was eating happily, and I was just sitting there stunned, deciding neither of them was losing their hair. It seemed safe enough. I tried it too. Enemy pie was delicious. After dessert, Jeremy rode his bike home, but not before inviting me over to play on the trampoline in the morning. He said he'd teach me how to flip. You shouldn't do that, by the way, unless there's nets around it, because you could get hurt, right? Right. Yeah. As for enemy pie, I still don't know how to make it. I still wonder if enemies really do hate it, or if their hair falls out, or their breath turns bad. I don't know if I'll ever get an answer, because I just lost my best enemy. It's a great story, isn't it? So what's the key to losing your best enemy?
Be kind to every commitment.
Be kind, make them your friend? Yeah. It's great to get to know people, isn't it? Sometimes you learn things you didn't expect. All right, I wonder what you're going to learn in class today. What do we think? Let's sing them onto their class, From You I Receive. And I think Katya is going to help us out with that, or Katie, or someone.
Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and through this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. To
Thank you, Katie. One of the things that we get to share the blessing of in this community is folks who have newly joined our community. So let me invite up our newest members for our new member recognition today. And I think Lonnie and Victoria are going to help lead us in this as well. The lectern mic, I think, is for you.
Yeah, just so I can call out.
Sounds good. So come on up. Let's go down on the floor to be inclusive for everyone. Folks, let's come on down to the floor to be inclusive for everyone.
Okay. Well, we have.
Oh, we have a ramp.
Yes. Jane Lundeen, thank you.
Jane, thank you. We get to
Thank
use
you.
our ramp. Thank you. Okay, up top.
Chris and Haley, we're going to get you next time.
Yeah, come on up. Come on up.
All right, well, thank you. We have, what a gift to have people who want to join their voices with ours to help guide our church, to help increase community and our service and our love with each other. And so, before our statement, we'll have it up on the screen, I'd like to have a flower and say the names of each person, and if they could raise their hand, I know Victoria knows them. Michelle Fossing. Thank you, Michelle. Russ Fernald. We have Anne Fernald. And their friend and caregiver, Alan Mendoza. Whole family said this is the place. We have Michelle Lassie. Michelle's been in that kitchen helping us, and thank you so much. We have our Jeff Mertens. Our friend Manny's not here today, but you've met Manny and you'll see him. And we have our new member, Jason Russell. Now you go, but Jason's our worship associate. Jason joined 2 years ago and COVID hit and we've never been able to welcome him on the chancel, and I begged him to stand up here and be welcomed by the people who love you. Thank you for everything you're doing, Jason. We have Haley Smith, who's not here, and we have Winthrop Williams. I love his name. So Win Williams. And online, Sylvia Skertzer is online, and Cordell and Camille are writing to her right now on YouTube. Welcome, Sylvia. Everybody's welcoming you. And we have our young lady who is up here. Come over. Say your name.
Hi, I'm May Ryan.
Hey, May. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. All right. Do we have our slide for our welcoming? So, does everybody have their form? Do you have something for May? Great. So, our new member welcome, the congregation, we're going to say these words, and then the new members will have their response, and then we'll all say something together. So, let us begin. We warmly welcome you into membership. We are glad you have joined us. We know you with your ideas, energies, resources, and commitment will keep this church a vital, growing community. May we renew today our covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Welcome. Go ahead.
We enter into membership of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. We bring to the community our strengths, our limits, our desires. We ask for your love and encouragement as we make our places among you. We are glad to be here.
And now, all together, we commit ourselves to honesty in our speaking, care in our relating, peace in our meeting, courtesy in our conflict, courage in our speech, integrity in our action. May we be true to ourselves, true to each other, and true to our vision of what together we are becoming. So be it. Thank you. Woo! All right. Thank you so much. All right.
Welcome to this fabulous congregation.
All right.
Thank you. That so beautifully brings us into our quiet, introspective time, the time we make for what's going on within us in our hearts, worries for ourselves and for those around us in the world, those we love as well as those we may not know. We lift up and hold the joys and sorrows, the cares and concerns that we may each be facing or carrying. I invite you during our time of silence, if you're online, to share any joys or sorrows or significant milestones of your own in the comments section. And if you're here in the room, I invite you to speak those joys, sorrows, or milestones aloud in our comments section in the air. Let us hold these cares in the embrace of this loving community. Let us join now in a time of silence and caring. Let us now join in a time of meditation as we think on these words. Here we are, children at the big party, having our moment in the sun, our piece of the action, till our bodies give way and we are called home. We are one big, not always happy family, given life and breath by an eternal parent we dearly long to know. Now we have our one shot at it, our one time to be a conscious part of this ongoing, whatever we might call it. It is not a free or easy trip. We have to live with pain as well as pleasure, temptation as well as promise, loneliness as well as love, and fear as well as hope. We've tried to live inside a coat of skin, wrapped up in drives difficult to control and dreams difficult to achieve. Although we are the guests of honor at this, our party, we don't get to set the time of the party or its place, nor are we consulted about the guest list. But really, this is our time. And there really is just one question. What are we going to do with it? I'll leave you with that. While we go into a fabulous piece of music that seemed very appropriate for UCB this month.
A vast number of us and our fellow humans believe that the life of the universe began with the Big Bang. As well, millions believe that human life begins with a much smaller event. In both cases, what came before? Science describes the Big Bang as happening at 10 to the power of negative 33 seconds. Prior to that, where time is zero, they call the moment of singularity. Singularity is where all elements in existence are one. But back to our smaller event. We have two people who come together in a moment of singularity, and new life is a potential outcome of that moment. This is the power of with. If this theory of birth of the universe is true, then one secular misunderstanding is that the universe was born from nothing at the moment of the Big Bang, whereas in reality, the Big Bang only separated everything into innumerable somethings. Just as in our smaller event, two people become one, then become three or more. But where does all this immense energy go at the time of death? How do we understand that something is begat from nothing and then melts back into nothing at death? My personal faith informs me otherwise. Just as we became something from everything, I do not believe we exit from a state of something to nothing. At the end of our run on earth, we return to everything. But how does this serve us as a philosophy of living? What good is it as a theory of life if you can't put it into practice to live a happier, healthier time of being something? The moment of our death is really the only important moment of our existence. It would be easy to argue that that's not to be true when you have a life full of significant experiences. But what I mean by this is the moment of death is the only moment when we are everything we are ever going to be. We have given all the love and value to the world that we have to give. We have no time to repair, improve, or evolve. We will be carried forward into the everything by our last fleeting thought of all the other wanderers of earth with whom we've made a genuine connection. And that's it. The problem, of course, is that we never know when that moment will come upon us, which paradoxically makes every moment of our lives the most important. Life is not a rehearsal, friends. Make your connections today and every day. Live not amongst your fellow humans, but with them, as each and every one of the mysterious, beautiful, complex somethings that we connect with during our brief time as somethings will be part of our eternal everything.
So last week, we talked for a minute about ants, right? All right, so this week I want to talk about another one that we may be much less fond of, termites. Back when I bought my first house, we discovered active termite activity in the railroad tie planters on our property. So we did the responsible thing and got it treated. And in the process learned that it was an entire underground colony about 100 feet below the ground that was nibbling on the entire neighborhood. So not our fault, right? We literally just moved there too. Well, the neighbors thought differently and blamed us for all of the termites because Terminex had been in front of our house. Needless to say, not a fond memory of termites. But did you know that these little insects are really dumb too? And not just dumb, really dumb. Somehow, despite all of the damage they can do, they literally don't have enough brain cells to conceive of what they're doing at any given moment. And yet, even with how spectacularly dumb they are, a colony of termites can collectively construct enormous and elaborate mounds that are not only awe-inspiring, but can look like pieces of art. So you might be wondering how on earth they managed to do this. Now, they don't have queens or other managerial types, just a bunch of insects who don't even realize what they're doing or why. This gets me curious. Does it get you curious? So in the late 1950s, biologist Pierre-Paul Grass figured it out. First, there's the initial building process. Here's what each termite does. The first thing is they chew up a mouthful of earth and mold it into a pellet with their saliva. Next, they wander around aimlessly until they bump into an elevated area, and they drop the pellet there. Then repeat, over and over. Elaborate, right? But here's what happens. As pellets get dropped onto an elevated spot, that spot gets a little taller, so it's more likely another termite is going to bump into it and drop their pellet there. When these pillars reach a certain height, Grass found that a change happened. He describes it this way: a new behavior kicks in and the termites start to build arches between those mounds. The whole elaborate termite mound with its chambers and tunnels and sophisticated air circulation channels arises from the work of thousands of termites with no central coordination and just a few simple rules. Ultimately, he named it cooperation without communication. So if these spectacularly dumb insects can make beautiful and complex structures without any communication or intentional coordination between them, then surely, with our great big developed brains and our many means of communicating, we should be able to do some truly amazing things. You wondered where I was going with that, right? There, we got there. So the assumption I'm starting with today is that these amazing things that we can do, these things we can do, are more amazing when we work together rather than working alone. The power of with. That we can accomplish more with each other than not. Now, I could just sit down and be done, right? Let me just go sit down, end the service early. It's fairly self-explanatory, but I have some stories and thoughts to go along with it, so let me tell you a few of those, because it is, of course, more complex than that. Just at the level of tasks and doing stuff, it seems fairly obvious that more folks can do more than fewer folks. String hammocks make me think of this too. Y'all know the string hammocks with those woven strings in together? So, I spent a summer in Nicaragua a number of years ago. I lost my place on the page, sorry. Spent a summer in Nicaragua, and I met a family that specialized in making hammocks. Now, when I say the family made the hammocks, I don't just mean it was a trade that the family happened to be involved in. What I mean is that the family made the hammocks, the entire family. So first, they wove the string from cotton. Okay, maybe that was done by one person who was really good at it. And the dyeing also. They had vats of dyeing stuff in their yard, and the hammock I bought from them had maybe 5 or 6 different colors in it. But then the fun begins. The family would take this pile of colored string out into their yard. Their yard, and I went to their place to buy the hammock, so I saw this, their yard was filled with wooden posts. The yard was the weaving loom. Working together, the family would weave this single hammock using their entire yard. And the result was as beautiful as it was functional. And it took all of them to do it. There's no way a single person could have managed to hold all of those strings and run around the yard around all of those posts. It took all of them to do it. And not only that, what's awesome about hammocks just on their own, you get to see the power of the collective in the hammock itself. One string by itself is only so strong. One string can't hold up one of us. That's silly. But all of these strings, which isn't necessarily a whole lot, but then they're woven together, they work together a certain way. All of these strings can hold way more weight. And I bet that's way more than the individual weight. If you added up the weight each string could hold on its own and just added that up, the strings woven together can hold way more than that. When lots of folks are working on something, there's the possibility for different roles and different jobs too. Now, I'm not talking about road construction crews. How many of you have driven by and just seen them standing around? We needn't go there though. Instead, a more productive collective. So here's another analogy for us that might surprise you. My brother's favorite animal is the wolf. And because of his interest in them, I've gotten to learn quite a bit about these truly amazing animals. Now first, wolves do hunt in packs, and because of their collective numbers, are certainly able to take down much larger prey than, of course, each could by itself. But you know, a pack is more than that. It has a clearly defined hierarchy, and also, the point I want to make, a clearly defined set of roles. Now, you've probably heard about the alpha position, right? There's actually two positions, the alpha female and her mate, because of course the girls are definitely in charge. Then there's the beta role. Now, the alphas get the best cut of the meat, the betas get the second best cut. But then my brother told me about this amazing and entirely underappreciated member of the pack, the omega, the wolf at the bottom of the pack's hierarchy. The rest of the pack is not fond of this wolf at all. In fact, they probably hate this wolf a good deal. Yet the alpha saves the omega the third best cut of meat, and the pack does not get to eat until that cut has been reserved. And it's because of the importance of the omega's unique role. You see, half the pack would starve if it wasn't for the omega. After the alpha and the beta get their pick of the meat, and the alpha reserves this other one for this hated role, the rest of the pack has at it. Okay, they kind of have at it, because they don't get to truly have at it, because the omega keeps them in check. The omega bumbles through the feasting pack, bumping wolves off the carcass, keeping everyone from being able to pig out and get as much as they really want, but at the same time ensuring everyone gets a share of it. That's actually how the rest of the pack gets fed, so that no one starves. It's the omega, this disregarded, lowly omega, who gets the third best cut of meat and ensures that everyone gets some. That's pretty cool, isn't it? See, girls really figure it out. There are so many tasks that are vitally important and might not even be noticed unless we know what we're looking at, and that might not get done if we didn't have the variety of roles filled by folks. And then you heard in the song that Katie led our children and y'all in, it's not only the leaders who get it done. Leaders couldn't do squat if it wasn't for the doers and everyone who makes it all happen, the variety of roles that makes things happen. And now, it's not only the roles, though, it's also the different roles and the different needs and how they're filled by folks with a variety of skills and experience. And we have a lot of variety here, which is fabulous. It's one of the huge blessings we have, having folks with a lot of different skills and expertise they bring into the community. And that is definitely something that makes our collective work better. And in many ways, that's how teams are built, with an intentional variety of skills and strengths. In the workplace, it's an intentional building of teams. And you know, we see some of that here too. In fact, as your ministerial search committee was being built, there was thinking about what were different roles and skills and perspectives and expertise needed by that team to make sure that that was represented. And therefore, you have this diverse and really, really talented and committed team who is serving this church and working to find your next minister. And by the way, they have a table right outside the sanctuary on that side that I believe is up for the duration that there are folks at. So if you want to meet some of these amazing search committee members and talk to them, they're there virtually every Sunday. And just as it strengthens us when we have a variety of skills and strengths, you know, having different perspectives in the room makes us better too. The joke about how many UUs does it take to screw in a light bulb? 1 to screw it in and 4 more to talk about why. One of my fantasies, though, is having a this is going to sound weird, but here we go. Having a congregation filled with Michelles. Wouldn't that be cool? Or having a congregation filled with Smileys. Or a congregation filled with Graces. Congregation, wouldn't that be awesome? A congregation just filled with one person. I think it'd be fabulous. We'd, enjoy the same things. We'd have the same way of looking at stuff, so we wouldn't disagree as much. We'd have the same values, the same interests. What could be better than that, right? It's ridiculous, right? What a myopic congregation that would be. Only seeing the world through our own lens without the challenges or accountability that we're able to offer each other. We need each other. We need our different perspectives, our different life experiences, not only to strengthen our work, but that's what makes us more whole than we would be otherwise. We really do need each other. And you know, there is power when we come together. I'd so missed that when we were during the pandemic, when this was an empty room, and it's like, wow, even though we're together, it's still, I missed the power that you can feel when we come together. There's power that we can do because we are here together with each other, adding ourselves to this thing that we've got going on. I admit often feeling helpless, watching all of this stuff swirling around us in the world. But then I remember and I look around. Isn't it fabulous? Go ahead and look around right now. Go ahead and look around. Look at everyone here. Yeah. Yeah. And alongside that, I try to grasp to whatever hope and power that I can remind myself of. Together, with each other, we can resist more than we can resist alone. Now, there's a lot of examples, but there's a really cool one, and anyone who thinks I'm such a nerd, go at it for this one. Let's talk about a phone book. A flimsy phone book with those super flimsy pages, you know, the kind you have to be careful when you turn lest you rip the page, right? So let's take, two phone books. Now, if you were to take two phone books and then put them together, alternating the pages one at a time, you don't put anything on top, you just put the two phone books together, it is nearly impossible to pull those apart. Just the resistance of those flimsy pages against each other creates a nearly immovable force, the collective work of those pages together. Okay, I say nearly because the Mythbusters, the TV show of the scientists and special effects artists that go and challenge myths and challenges, they went through a bunch of different forces. They wanted to work on this one, so they put the phone books together, went through a bunch of forces trying to pull the phone books apart unsuccessfully. Too much resistance from these lowly little objects. In the end, they did it. It took 2 tanks pulling in opposite directions for a solid minute before they could pull the books apart. I'm sure it's on YouTube. It's a fabulous little experiment. But remarkable, isn't it, what collective resistance can do? Now, there's a neat story that happened a while back. Just a blip in the news alongside the typical dramatic stories that seem to get a lot more attention. But a really awesome story, nonetheless. It happened at a high school in Florida. A teenage girl was sent to the office by her teacher because her nipples were showing, and her teacher thought it was distracting to the others in the class. She had chosen not to wear a bra that day. I think maybe she was a little sunburnt from the weekend. She had chosen not to wear it, and by the way, the picture from when this article happened, her outfit was decent, jeans and a plain t-shirt. The principal or administrator, a female, had her put on another t-shirt underneath her shirt, was still unsatisfied that it was enough cover-up for her, and sent her to the bathroom with 4 Band-Aids to make an X over each nipple. Yes, I'm appalled. She was ashamed and angry, of course. And she could have gone home, talked to her mother, who, by the way, was fully agreed with her about the objectification of women's bodies and the devaluing of her own self and her own choices. Her mother could have complained to the school board, and it would have been that. But that's not what happened. She decided to resist instead with the support of her mother. She called the newspaper. She hit social media to organize. She called for, get ready, a bra-cot, boycott without the boy, but plus a bra. She called for a bra-cot for high school students across the country to protest the devaluing of their bodies and a call for equality. Way more than just complaining to the school board. How's that for collective resistance? Yeah, and the only way I got to hear about this story was after the resisting had happened, because then it was worthy of being in the news. This is one of those happy stories. because look what she did when she took it to others and joined forces. The power of with. Working with each other can make things happen. Working with each other, we can make this congregation what you dream for it to be. Working with each other, change can happen. We can change things that we can barely dream of doing alone. The power of with. So thank you all for being here with each other today. You are the ones that make it happen.
So it's appropriate at this time, I am going to invite everyone to become with us in making an offering. And with our offering, each has the opportunity to recommit to making UUCB a strong and vibrant community. For now, we're still conducting the offering in the sanctuary without passing the plate. Instead, you can either give electronically, or you can take a donation envelope from the back of the pew in front of you and place it in the donation box, which sits beside the fountain in the atrium. If you would like to give electronically, you'll see a QR code on the back of your name badge, and that will bring you directly to the offering link. We support our wonderful Good Neighbor organizations through our plate offering, and each week, half of our plate offering is shared with a Good Neighbor organization recommended by our very active Social Justice Council. We're grateful that you've continued to practice generosity with our good neighbors through these very hard times. This month, our good neighbor is GRIP, the Greater Richmond Interfaith Program. GRIP is a multicultural, multi-ethnic coalition of congregations from varied faiths working together as a diverse and inclusive coalition dedicated to helping those of our community in need to transition to self-sufficiency. Offerings of any value are always received with gratitude. Thank you.
You've got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, you just remember what your old pal said. Son, you've got a friend in me. Yeah, you've got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. If your troubles, then I got them too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. If we stick together, we can see it through. 'Cause you got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me. Some of the folks might be a little bit smarter than I am, bigger and stronger too, maybe, but none of them will ever love you the way I do. Just me and you, boy, and as the years go by, friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You're gonna see it's our destiny. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. A friend in me.
Please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
This has been fabulous, being here together today, has it not? Yes. So after the service, of course, there's coffee hour. I believe it's now in the social hall, but there's still seating outside as well as in the social hall. Next week after the service, what's happening? Congregational meeting. I hope that all voting members will be able to attend. We'll have it on Zoom as well. And all members should have gotten the packet either in the mail or via email this past week. So Zoom link there. There'll be a way to vote on Zoom. I hope you can come also. So congregational meeting next week. And as we're getting ready for that, after the service today is a question and answer session back here in the sanctuary, as well as tomorrow, 7 p.m. on Zoom. Zoom only for tomorrow's. So if you have questions you'd like to ask for today's, please write them on an index card. There's index cards out in the atrium, and we'll have those available during the meeting as well, so that we can get as many questions as we can answered. And another thing for writing, as we've been talking about, we've been talking about our Black Lives Matter sign, and as we're getting ready to reinstall the sign, we would like to encourage you to sign the sign. Aren't words great? I'd like to invite you all to sign the sign, sign the back of the vinyl sign that will be put up. There is on the social justice table in the atrium. It'll be out for the next few weeks. And invite you as a way of committing to this congregation's work on anti-racism and opposing forces that would seek to make Black lives not matter. As we oppose those forces, I encourage you to sign your support for our important work. There's Sharpies, because we want to make our signatures last, right? As we want our commitments to last, to sign the back of the sign. It'll be out for the next few weeks. All right, I think that's it. Let us let love guide us on our way out. I don't know. Check the week ahead for other announcements. Check the website. All right, love will guide us on our way out. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can live from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Many things guide us as we journey together. Values and conviction, leadership and doership of so many here, our hopes for the future, compassion, trust, community, and love. May we find the direction we need as we journey ahead together. Blessed be. Please be seated.